The Nuggets lost to the Suns, kind of the Suns in preseason. Julian Strawther, I think, is a guy. The Russ stuff is it's a lot. There's just a lot there. The Nuggets in general have some stuff to work on. We'll figure it out here on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making this part of your day. Appreciate you guys being with us Monday through Friday, joining us, whether you're on podcasts, give us those 5-star reviews, or if you're joining us on YouTube, best way to support the show at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. Give us those likes and subscribe. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. Place your first $5 bet, and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. My name's Matt Moore. I'm a senior NBA writer for the Action Network. I'm joined by Ryan Blackburn of Mile High Sports, and this is No Jinx. That is what I have decided is the new name for this show, and Ryan was like, yeah, that's fine. And so we decided to go ahead and approve that one. I thought it was you guys had some really good suggestions for what the show name should be called. But given the fact that I am notorious for saying the Nuggets are cooked and then they come back, and Ryan is notorious for tweeting one thing and the exact opposite thing happening 30 seconds later, I really couldn't get past the idea of the fact that Ryan and I are always trying to kind of give a very clear-headed look at what's going on with the Nuggets. And so, superstitions aside, this is No Jinx, Ryan.
I love it. It makes a lot of sense. Again, a lot of great suggestions brought in by the audience. Thank you guys for caring enough about it that you're giving us all these suggestions. It does mean the world that you think of as much of this duo as you do. But No Jinx is the way that we're going, and I think it makes a lot of sense.
Okay. On today's show, we're gonna go over the ups and downs of the Nuggets preseason loss to the Phoenix Suns. We'll talk about Julian Strawther. We'll get to Russell Westbrook. We'll talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. Ryan, what was your big takeaway? You got an article up already at Mile High Sports. I know Malone was pissed post-game. Spoiler alert, I'll just go ahead and tip the cap here. I didn't stay for the end because I've been doing this for 13 years, and I will be here for many late nights. But fourth quarter, I was like, I'm good, and made the hour trek home to NoCo. What is your big takeaway, though, from the Nuggets loss to the Suns in preseason?
Yeah, just a couple of the messages that were put forth. One was the math problem that Denver is facing. Michael Malone doesn't really like to acknowledge it. He actively kind of fights against the fact that they have a math problem, but he said that they weren't really worried about the attempts that the Celtics were getting up, that the Suns were getting up. They're worried about the makes. 23 of 50. Tonight from the Suns' second team and third team. This was a team without Grayson Allen, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Tyus Jones, Bradley Beal, all of those guys that are also very good three-point shooters. So this is a very good three-point shooting Suns team that didn't have their best, and it is something like Nuggets go 12 of 36. They're going to have trouble keeping up with some of these teams in some of these games.
Yeah, so you and I were kind of arguing back and forth on this during the game, and you were like, they're on pace for 37, which is more than they took last year, and I was like, congratulations on taking more than one of the bottom three-point shooting teams in the league last season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think your point about their three-point attempts, I think, is sound here, which is like this is going to be the struggle for Denver all the time. They're so good at creating efficient two-point looks. If you're listening to this, I don't want to assume. I think most people are smart enough to understand that 3 is better than 2. Like that's pretty basic. The better way to kind of think about it is if you're taking 2-point shots, then in order out of every 10 shots, if you make 4 threes, you've created 12 points on 10 shots.
Yeah.
If you are doing that with 2s, you have to make 6 shots out of every 10. That's like the best way I can think to compare this is that with 3s, you just have to make less. And Denver is so efficient that that's how they've been managed to be as successful as they have been.
Yeah.
in that you can shoot a lot of threes, because if Denver shoots 70% inside the paint, they're going to still kill you. And that's going to continue to happen a lot this year. I don't think the Nuggets should be like a volume 3-point shooting team. Like, that's not what they should be.
It's not who they are.
But I think one of the things is, if you're looking to program a game plan, if you're looking to design a game plan against Denver, if you ask me, like, what does a team that isn't as talented as Denver need to do to win? One of the first things I would say is you need to shoot a lot of threes, because they're not going to, and that's how you can out math them. So that to me is like the problem here.
Yeah, also some schematic things that were brought up post-game. Michael Malone was very focused on one-on-one containment. Michael Porter Jr. actually had a differing view on that because of the scheme that Denver plays, where they play 2 on the ball, the low man rotates over, you're always going to be in rotation, and sometimes it's really difficult to cover the perimeter in that situation. It's probably somewhere in the middle there. Like, the effort probably wasn't good enough because it's a preseason game, and the Nuggets should be expecting to give up threes when they're playing the defense that they do. So it's tough, man. This is going to be a very interesting battle back and forth. The other thing that Michael Malone said, by the way, conditioning. Conditioning was something that he and the team are monitoring, and that they might be a little bit worried about. He didn't say specific names, but Jamal played the first half only. That's one that I would monitor just based off of how he's approaching things. I also think that Aaron played this like a preseason game from a defensive perspective for the most part, and Joker was very slow. And that's where you're getting a lot of these concerns about conditioning.
Yeah, I don't know. I have a hard time there, just because I'm just like, look, Joker played high-level basketball a month ago.
Yeah.
So I think he's out of shape now. No, I do not. Aaron, Mahrez was sitting next to me, and Mahrez was like, AG's a little, like, kind of settling in a little bit here. And I was like, I don't know, man. I mean, AG's been in the league for so long at this point. I'm just not going to blame the starter. Like, this is one of the problems with, like, I think Malone wanted this game to be a lot more of a dress rehearsal of, like, them looking good. Okay, you lost the 2 to Boston badly. Sure. First home preseason game. Let's get a win. Let's look good in the starter minutes. Let's have something to feel good about. And I'm not saying that the starters didn't play hard. I thought they did it at certain points, but they're just never going to go. Like, this team is just not in a position where those guys are going to go as hard. I actually think having been in as many serious playoff games as they have been hurts them, because it makes them, like, actively aware of what they're not doing.
Oh, yeah.
And that makes them play less hard. I think that's part of that mechanic.
There's something to that. But I think you're also the king of saying that you need to get at least one preseason win, right? Like, need to get one, need to feel good. I remember very vividly that the 2013 Lakers went 0-7 in the preseason that year, and they were like, it's fine. And then they sucked. So I think that there's something to Denver has to string together a good game, and they haven't yet.
Since 2015, if you were winless in preseason, I just looked this up before the show. If you were winless in preseason, you have gone under your win total 7 of 9 times. If you were winless in preseason, I do believe this is one of the funny things. Everyone tries so hard to talk about how preseason doesn't matter, that they miss the ways that preseason does. And that, to me, is something to kind of be a little bit concerned about. It wasn't all bad news, though. There was some good news, especially Julian Strother, and another Nugget that I want to get into, who I thought looked absolutely terrific tonight and could be in for a really big season. We'll talk about Michael Porter Jr. up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Tough one. I had the Broncos on Sunday.
Made sure to let everybody know about it too.
Really thought that they were going to get it done. And, I mean, look, hey, at least I got that field goal at the end to make the score not so terrible, instead of trying to actually cover and win the game.
Yeah, they didn't cover for me. I lost my parlay because of that on FanDuel.
Because that's That's good. Sean Payton, supposedly the most amazing coach in the entire world, is going to turn everything around for this franchise. Been mired in mediocrity since their 2016 fraud of a championship. But if you want to get into the game, you can do that on FanDuel. When you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Broncos are opened as favorites, by the way, on the road versus Spencer Rattler and the Saints. I don't know if Carr's going to be back. That will probably move things dramatically if Carr's back. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Mares here to bitch at me when I say these things about turning these ad reads. Welcome back to Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us here on a Monday. Ryan Blackburn and Matt Moore, no jinx with you here, getting you set for the week. All right. So on the good, I want to start with MPJ because like right away he gets a play called up for him. He gets there was a lot of shots actually called for MPJ in this game. And it's a preseason game, so that's not ideal that they're like, yeah, sure, you can have these shots in preseason. But I'm actually kind of like, hey, maybe this is the year that they start involving MPJ more from a actually play call standpoint, that they're going to call his number more. And I do think there's probably a relationship between the fact that Jamal was basically non-existent in this game and just like not there at all, and MPJ having a larger role. But I also thought like MPJ, I was watching him warm up and I was like, God, he looks stronger, but lighter. That's impressive. Like, because, the conversation in preseason was, hey, he's bulked up. He can play the 4 and he doesn't look undersized, but he does look like lean. And he just looks like in great, like he does not look like a guy that's not in great shape.
Nobody in the world is concerned about Michael Porter Jr.'s shape and his readiness for this season. He is clearly shown up in a big way. I'm with you, man. Like, as shaky as Jamal has been in these 3 preseason games, Mike has stepped up and been as strong. Like he has really been very impressive. And I've just been very happy to see that for him as somebody who put a lot of last year, the way things went on him. I think he's come back better. I think he is a better player than he was at the end of last season. And I hope that the Nuggets can find a way to deploy that, because the way that they have operated the team around the Jokic Murray 2-man game has sort of kind of shirked them to the side a little bit. That can't happen this year. You lose KCP, and he talked about it this year, like at the podium. He needs to get up more shots. He needs to get up more threes. That's the only way this team is going to survive the math game. And I think he's a very, very important piece of that.
Yeah, and he just looks more polished too, where it used to be even on the good sequences, half the time it seemed like he was like, am I supposed to be? Okay, I'm supposed to be here. Okay, here's the ball. Okay, wait. Okay, should I shoot? Maybe I shouldn't shoot. Okay, I'll take a step back. And instead, like, he looked very confident in all the sequences that he was involved in.
Yeah.
And he looked like he was a step ahead of the defense. And he looked like he was a step ahead of, honestly, the team a lot of the time, which is one of the reasons why I think he found a lot of shots. All right, this is part of it, is if Joker's going to play a play style where he's ahead of the defense, you need to be there with him. You don't have to be as fast as Joker, but you better be ahead of that defense. And he has been. And I thought that was just a really impressive game from MPJ, from whatever you can be as impressive as you can be in preseason versus Bol and the Suns backups. I still thought it was a really good performance. He was sharp. He was precise. He looked in condition. He was aggressive. Great game from MPJ.
So, by the way, each of the full seasons that he has been a starter, so I'm not counting his rookie season, and I'm not counting the year he played 9 games. He's averaged 13 shots in each of those years, 13.4, 13.2, 13.3. What do you think is the right number for Michael Porter Jr. this year if you were to pick something?
15?
It's probably 15, 16, right?
Yeah.
I think he deserves a bump.
Yep. I absolutely. I mean, I've been waiting on it. Been waiting on it for a long time. Been waiting for them to give him some looks with that second unit to get the offense going. The other guy looked really good tonight, Julian Strother, 21 points on 7 of 12. Swipa over on his YouTube channel, Swipa Cam. You can check out his thoughts. about he had like a headline of like Julian Strother is the answer. Like, okay, hummer, but I get like it's Swipe, so God love him. 21 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists.
It's a good line.
He hit corner threes, he hit pull-up threes. Like, Julian is a guy. And that doesn't mean that Julian is like a superstar. And it doesn't mean that Julian's like an all-star in the waiting. And it doesn't mean like it just means that like Julian is going to be a rotation player in the NBA. And I think Straw did a really good job tonight in his role, because one of the things that you kind of noticed was he was not taking ill-advised shots. That starting unit, I think, is actually tough to play with for young guys, because you're trapped between I can't screw this up and I can't screw it up by being not me. I got to be aggressive. And there are guys that come in and are like aggressive, and then you'll see Joker being like, really? That shot? Really? So like you have to balance it. And I thought Julian did a really good job tonight. Like I just continue to be very encouraged by what I've seen from Julian Strother, Ryan.
He talked this off like earlier today about how he had been in Denver for the entire offseason. He gave up his summer, and he wanted to make sure that he was ready for this season to be the best version of himself that he could be. And I think he's ready. He's very clearly ready. That work that he has put in, he sees the floor really well. That's something that we knew about him from his rookie season. It just didn't fully translate yet. And now it looks like things are starting to translate, where you mentioned it, and I think you hit the nail on the head. How many of the shots were bad? Like last year, you could count, like if Julian was going to take 5 shots in a game, at least 2 of them were going to be questionable. Now they are really good shots in the flow. He seems to understand where to get the shots and how to get the shots and how to react to what the defense is doing a little bit better. I love that. I think that's a really great sign for him.
Yeah, and then I think they need a player like him too, both as a replacement option in the starters if somebody gets hurt, and I think they need somebody like him on the bench as just like they need floor spacers around Russ, right? They just need
Will Barton.
Yeah,
I think he's been compared to Jordan Poole on the podcast that we did during the weekend. I think that Will Barton is a good comparison for him.
Yeah. So yeah, really positive things out of MPJ and Julian as well. Some mixed results for some of the other guys. We'll talk about them up next. We'll get to Christian Brown, Russell Westbrook, and the rest of the Nuggets up next here on Locked On Nuggets. Back here on Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us, making this part of your day. No jinx with you on a Monday. You can catch Swipe tomorrow on Tuesday. Ryan will be back with you on Wednesday after. It'll be Tuesday night for the live show after the Nuggets preseason game versus the Oklahoma City Thunder, as they begin their trek of playing the Thunder, I think 1,800 times in the next 4 weeks.
The schedule is going to be like, it is going to be a story. It always is, but we're going to find ways to sort of evaluate it in that way. But it's going to be a story for Denver. And if they lose the season series to OKC, it will probably it'll be because they lose at least one of these 2 home games to them out of the break. Also, familiarity breeds contempt, and so they're going to get to know OKC a little bit, and probably they're not going to be super friendly with them by the time that we get to Christmas. All right, so let's talk about some of the guys that were kind of up and down. Talk me through Christian Brown and why I need to be okay on all this. I continue to just not like, he has drives, like the ball gets stripped. He hits a corner 3 out of right out of the gate, and then 1 for 3 is fine. I don't think Christian, here's the thing. Christian's never going to be loud bad. Yeah.
I don't think he was bad. What were your kind of impressions of Christian tonight, and as kind of trying to judge him throughout the entire the 3-game sample we have in the preseason? What are your kind of thoughts on where they're at with CB?
The 3 has to be consistently better. He did make 1 from the corner today. I do like that he continues to go hard to the rim, and he made an and 1 today that was nice. He did a lot of good things that I think that there are some things that the team needs from him from a transition standpoint that there's a reason why they were able to run. There's a reason why the starters were able to run today. It wasn't because of Jamal. It wasn't because of, Joker was passing the ball ahead. He wasn't crossing half court, that's for sure. Aaron was doing some of it, but Christian is the guy that's going to benefit a lot from that. And sometimes you just need a horse. You need somebody who's going to be able to do the hard stuff. And I think he's willing to do the hard stuff. He didn't have a defensive assignment tonight that really made sense. There's no guy for him to really guard.
To be fair, with what the Suns were rolling out there, no matchup really makes sense.
Exactly. You just have to play kind of shell defense, and Denver didn't really even do that. But I think that he will be better when you get to target him in on a specific assignment. But the offense is going to be a work in progress, Matt. Like the spacing is going to be it's going to be a challenge. I thought that there were some good things that happened at times, but there are also some things like when Russ came in the third quarter and then he's playing next to Christian and Aaron. That was when things kind of bogged down a little bit for Denver's offense, and they had to figure some stuff out. And then part of that was going to Julian. And I think that lineup with Russ and Julian and Mike, Aaron, and Joker makes more sense.
I do kind of wonder this because CB was a positive before the halftime run when Russ came in for Jamal.
Yeah.
And from a lineup stand-up, like this is okay. With the caveat that, look, we are analyzing the preseason game that we just watched, and we know it's preseason and we're not overreacting. Okay. I want that very clear. But like, it's like a note for me is like, hey, what if CB and Russ are not a great combo together?
I think that's a completely fair point, and it's one that I've made pretty consistently. Like they're not going to be. And then also in that first half, Russ and CB played together. CB was the stagger today in a 9-man rotation. He was the guy that played with the second unit in a lineup that featured Russ, Julian, Hunter, Dario Saric, and Christian Braun. So like, not really set up well for success from a spacing perspective.
Yeah.
But he's the shooting guard. So like, you should probably space.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't think the shooting needs to help out Christian. Christian's supposed to help out the shooting guard.
I'm with you there.
Russ was hilarious tonight in that. Okay, so the stat line,
the full Russell,
not the full Russell because he didn't have enough turnovers.
Yeah.
9 points on 8 shots. He was 0 to start the game. Winds up 3 of 8, 1 of 2 from 3-point range, 6 assists, only 2 turnovers, both of them in the third quarter, which helped get that game turned around. Is the Nuggets kind of like came out with better effort, and then the Suns hit them back and started getting turnovers off of them, and then it just unraveled.
Yeah.
And that was a bad quarter for them.
Russ did 3, like he did do some things. Like I'm not going to sit here and say, and part of it was the way that they got it going. He actually caught a 5-1 alley-oop from Joker on a screen and roll. And I think that's a very interesting way to use both of those guys, like Joker being the point guard and Russ being the center in a set like that. But I don't know what it's ultimately going to look like with him, man. Like, I just think this is going to be how it is for much of the season.
Yeah, I think this is kind of one of the things I was trying to intimate and kind of warn Nuggets fans of, which is it's okay to be excited. Russell Westbrook plays for your team, and that's exciting. It's just like what I don't want is everyone being like, I didn't realize how many layups he misses. He misses a lot of layups, guys. He goes really fast. And trying to convert those layups is very difficult. Now, I did kind of mention this during the game on Twitter of like Joker's going to absolutely destroy in his minutes, in part because Russ is going to put so many shots on the rim that he's going to be able to put back. Like Big Tipper is going to just get so many off of Russ misses in particular.
Yeah.
The energy is really great. Like he does bring really good energy. It's just like, he takes a pull-up jumper, 2 dribble off the pick and roll, and that shot never seems to go in and hasn't since like 2015. It just has not gone in.
Yeah.
And he'll like miss some really frustrating ones at the like it's gonna be frustrating at times. And you just kind of have to accept that this is like the turn with Westbrook, is that the energy and passing ability and athleticism that he brings and the quickness that he brings to the table you hope as a net overall impact makes the team better in his minutes.
He did have a lot of assists. He did set the table for a lot of guys. Julian had one at the end of the first quarter where I thought that Russ did a great job of identifying where the help was coming from. And rather than rotate it up to Hunter, he found the open man in Julian in the corner and just did some good things. Like, he sees the floor reasonably well when he's not trying to go through like the Oklahoma drill. I do think that there are some things the Nuggets are going to have to figure out. One thing that would have helped him look even better, Dario Saric has to make some of these threes. Like, that's one where if you're going to be the pick and pop five, if you're going to space the floor for open shots and Russ is generating those shots, Dario made threes in Golden State. He's got to make them in Denver too.
Yeah, and like, I'll say this, I don't want to be inconsistent about this. Like, CB, it's totally fine that he missed the threes, the two other threes. Like, he was 1 of 3, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
Because if you look around at the preseason scores, that's the one thing that will really stick out to you sometimes is you're just like, God, like, all these really good NBA players shot like garbage. Like, it just happens.
Yeah.
If Dario gets through the first month and this is like, then that's a talking point. We gotta talk about it. Jamal doesn't play second half. Jamal finishes with 18 minutes, 1 of 6 from the field for 2 points, 3 assists, 1 steal, no turnovers. So that's good. Plus 7. I don't blame fans for getting a little impatient, wanting to see something from Jamal at this point.
Sure. Absolutely. Like, he's got to prove it, man. Like, there are some things that if you play the way that you do, you finish the season the way that you do, you throw a towel. Like, there's a lot of things that you've got to earn back some good credit. And part of that is starting the season really strongly. And it just doesn't look like he's going to do that. Now, he could prove us all wrong. And there's I think, a precedent for that. He likes to do the opposite of whatever I say, apparently. So we will see what happens with where he's at. But through 3 games, it has not been a good Jamal Murray preseason. I think there are things you can look at and squint and pick out and say, yeah, he did a good job here. He hasn't strung together a good half, let alone a good game. And that's where you want to see him take over and take control and be the $250 million player that they've now paying him over the course of the next 5 years.
And like, you'd rather see it in like a regular season than in the preseason. So like, it doesn't really matter. If it was, if he had a normal playoff run, even if they lost, but Jamal looked like Jamal, then this wouldn't be a thing. If the Olympics had gone better,
yeah,
then this wouldn't be a thing. It's the end of the regular season, him being gone, the postseason run and how bad he looked despite the big shots and a really good Game 7, the bad Olympics, and now this. It's like that there hasn't been a hey, but in a while.
The stuff that really bothers me is the hesitation on the threes. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the one where you're in the league because of your shooting. Like, that is what you do, man. And you're in this position earning this money for the team and for yourself because of the threes and because of the shots and because of the points that you score. And he's just hesitating so much on all of these looks, and it just looks like he's uncomfortable the entire time. And he raised his hand at one point and was like, yeah, my bad, I should have shot that. And that's going to happen a lot. And I don't think that it should. I think that every single time that he is open inside 26 feet, he should be shooting a 3, barring a completely unforeseen circumstance. I don't understand what the hesitation comes from. He has to be that guy because, again, you lose KCP. Michael Porter seems to understand that he's going to have to take more threes and is willing to play that role. This is a job for Jamal Murray. He has to do his job for the offense in order for it to function. And if he doesn't, the team will be worse for it.
There's that part of me that's like, we're all going to bury him and then he's going to have like a huge game. And it's like absolutely true, but it's also like, that doesn't solve the problem.
Yeah.
That doesn't fix the inherent issue, which is like he's got to be good night to night. He just has to be. Aaron Gordon didn't, you were kind of like, hey, he scored more points than I thought he did kind of during the game.
I was joking. I was like, I was just trying to get a rise out of you.
Finished with 12 points, 5 boards, 3 assists. Aaron was fine.
He was fine. Preseason effort on the defensive end. I'm not worried about him. He will amp up when it needs to happen.
How about Zeke Naji tonight with 11 points?
You missed it all. I was surprised, man. He took the first 3 with a lot of confidence. He hit a Euro step in the lane. I think he hit a couple. He hit a top of the key 3, and then he hit a couple free throws. Who knows, man? Like, I could absolutely see Zeke Naji being the 10th man for Denver.
I don't want to take away from Zeke's performance because like that's a good sign. Like that's a growth step. Hopefully he can build off of that for like the next game. If anybody that's listening is kind of like, why is DeAndre Jordan on this team? Before that quarter started, they're on the court and Zeke's going in, and DJ has got his arm around Zeke and he is in his ear talking him through. And you see Zeke like nodding. Like that's why DJ is on this team.
Yeah.
Is like that. He is like such a good presence for stuff like that, to be the voice in guys' ears when they need it. And it matters. It makes a huge difference.
And for what it's worth, sometimes you need somebody who doesn't play, who does that. Mm-hmm. Joker is not going to do that consistently. Nope. Jamal's not going to do that consistently. Aaron would be somebody that I'd want to see do that, but I don't think he's at that stage yet. This is going to be... It's going to be fascinating, man. There's a lot of youth on Denver that needs to show up, that needs to be consistent. DJ's going to have to, he's going to have to bring them along because they're going to need everybody.
I know that this was not like a real basketball game in any sense. I will say I am concerned for Denver in that the Suns look like they're actually listening to Budenholzer. That's not good for everybody else in the West. Because if Budenholzer is able, if that team's talent molds to what Bud's able to do with teams, they're going to be really good.
How about Ryan Dunn, man? How about Ryan Dunn?
How about Ryan Dunn?
Yeah.
How about Ty Washington?
I'm not worried about Ty Washington.
Ty's good. I like Ty.
He's fine. He's fine. But Ryan, I mean, that's a big wing that they can play in a playoffs if he continues to shoot the way that he did tonight. The Nuggets will probably have to face the Suns at some point in the playoffs if they are going to be anything serious. And I think that Denver, they don't necessarily match up that great with the Suns anymore. I will say that.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Last word here. What's your DEFCON level on the Nuggets 3-point balance, both offense and defense?
I mean, in that it's going to hurt them or that it's actually going to sink their season?
It's going to be a problem they have to deal with.
Oh, I mean, DEFCON 1, I believe that it's going to be a problem they have to deal with. I honestly think that Jamal's going to have to take more than what he took. He's Mike is going to take more than what he took. He's going to be very aggressive and a better player, I think. Julian's going to take a bunch of threes. If Christian and Aaron and Nicole, Aaron shot the ball well today. So who knows? Maybe he's a guy that you feel more comfortable shooting the ball consistently. And that's something that a power forward that is older has to be able to learn how to do. But I do think that Nicola is going to be hit or miss. Christian is going to be hit or miss. And everybody off the bench is going to be hit or miss, except maybe Julian. So it is a tough question. They're going to have to start hunting those a little bit more. I don't think that they will. They'll still probably win 52 games anyway, but that's going to kill them in the playoffs.
All right, it's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Have yourselves a great day. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets. We will talk to you tomorrow. Swipe will be with you on Tuesday for setting you up for Tuesday night's game versus the Thunder. Ryan, I'll have the post-game show for you on Wednesday morning. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys again next time here on Locked On Nuggets.